The air in the neighborhood doesn't just carry oxygen. It carries the weight of 1,000 unsaid threats and the thick, cloying scent of asphalt baking under a relentless sun. You are 14. At 14, the world is supposed to be wide, but for you, it has shrunk to the size of 3 city blocks, controlled by the Mara Salvatrucha. You stand on the sidewalk, your cheap sneakers fraying at the edges, feeling like a ghost in your own skin. At school, the teachers look through you as if you're already a statistic, a pre-written obituary. Your mother is a shadow that passes through the house between her 2 cleaning jobs, her hands smelling of bleach and exhaustion. But then, you see them. The older guys, the homeboys. They move with a synchronized gravity that pulls everything toward them. Their blue and white flannels are crisp, ironed with a precision that borders on the religious. When they walk down the street, the air seems to chill. People don't just move, they evaporate. There is a silence that follows them, a silence born of respect, or maybe just the kind of fear that feels like respect when you're young and powerless. You want that weight. You want to be the reason the sidewalk clears. Level 1, the battle. You don't ask to join. That's the first mistake the dead ones make. You just exist in their periphery. You become a fixture of the corner, like the rusted fire hydrant or the flickering street lamp. You start small. You run to the bodega for cigarettes when Sneaky or Diablo snaps their fingers. You don't look them in the eye, but you keep your ears open. They start giving you packages. You don't ask what's inside. You don't even wonder. To wonder is to be curious, and curiosity is a luxury for people who aren't trying to survive. They call you Battle. It's a title that sounds like a war cry but feels like a chore. You are the lookout. You stand on the corner for 6, 8, 10 hours at a time. Your back aches, and the sweat makes your shirt stick to your spine like a second, unwanted skin. Your job is the simplest and most terrifying thing in the world. Watch. If a black and white cruiser rounds the corner, your thumb moves instantly. 1 emoji. A cop car. That's it. If you see the wrong colors, the golden brown of Barrio 18, you don't text. You run, you scream, you warn the hive. Is this it? You ask yourself in the dead of night, lying on a mattress that smells of damp. Am I just a dog guarding a porch? But then you remember the way the police looked at you yesterday. They didn't see a kid. They saw a threat. And for the first time in your life, being a threat felt better than being nothing. They're testing your silence. Every time a teacher asks why you were late, every time a detective offers you a $20 bill and a burger to just tell us who was on the corner, you swallow your tongue. You realize that in this world, words are currency, and you are getting rich by staying silent. Level 2. The chow. 6 months. That's how long it takes for the shadows to decide you're real. One night, the air feels different, thicker, electric. Sneaky pulls you into the alley behind the auto shop. The smell of oil and old garbage is overpowering. You want in? He asks. His voice is low, like gravel grinding together. You nod. You don't speak. You just nod, because your throat has turned to sand. Then comes the cow. The jump in. The circle forms. 13 members. The number of the Mara. They aren't your friends now. They are the gatekeepers of your new life. You stand in the center, and for a heartbeat, the world goes silent. Then, the first fist hits your jaw. It's not like the movies. It's a dull, sickening thud that vibrates through your skull. 2, a kick to the ribs that steals your lungs. 5, you're on the concrete, and the world is just a blur of blue fabric and heavy boots. 1, 2, 3. They count in a rhythmic, terrifying chant. You can't fight back. You can't run. If you cry out, you fail. You taste blood, metallic and hot, filling your mouth. 8. A boot catches your temple, and white sparks explode behind your eyes. 11. You feel a rib crack, a sharp, splintering snap that sounds like a dry branch. You think about your mother's bleach-stained hands. You think about being invisible. Not anymore, you tell yourself through the haze of pain. I am becoming someone. 13. It stops. The silence returns, heavier than before. You're crumpled on the grease-stained floor, gasping for air that tastes like iron. Sneaky reaches down. His hand is rough as he hauls you up, but then he hugs you. A real hug. "Welcome, homeboy," he whispers. They give you a name. Flaco. You're thin, hungry, and now you're ours. The pain is still there, screaming in every nerve, but as you look around the circle, you don't see predators anymore. You see brothers. Blood in, blood out. Level 3. The soldier. You're 16 now. The bruises from the cow have long since faded into scars, both on your skin and in your mind. You aren't standing on the corner watching anymore. You're a soldier. You have a job. MS-13 controls the pulse of the streets, and you are the valve. The product moves through the neighborhood like blood through veins. You're the middleman. You don't touch the high-level stuff yet, but you're trusted. You pick up a heavy, duct-taped package from behind a dumpster where the flies buzz in a frenzied cloud. You walk 3 blocks. Every step feels like a mile. You're hyper-aware of everything. The way a curtain twitches in a window. The way a dog barks in the distance. Your hand stays near your waistband. You knock twice on a weathered wooden door. It opens just a crack. You hand over the package, and in return, you get a roll of bills. $200 a week. It's a fortune. It's more than your mother makes in 3 days of scrubbing toilets and floors. You buy new Nikes, white, pristine. You buy a silver chain that clinks against your chest. You feel powerful. You feel like a king of the concrete. But the fear is a cold needle in your heart. You know the rules. If the sirens scream and the lights flash, you are on your own. MS-13 doesn't have lawyers for soldiers. You do your time in juvenile hall, and you keep your mouth shut. If you snitch, the world becomes a very small place, and your life becomes very short. You've seen what happens to rats. They don't just disappear, they become examples. The work gets darker. The clique needs muscle. A local shopkeeper, a man you've known since you were 5, a man who used to give you free candy, refuses to pay for protection. Sneaky hands you a baseball bat. The wood feels cold and heavy. You walk in with 3 others. You don't look the man in the eye. You just swing. The sound of shattering glass is addictive. It sounds like progress. You leave, and a week later, the man pays. He looks at the floor when you walk by. You realize then that respect and fear are the same thing in the end. Level 4. The veterano. By 19, you've graduated from the school of the streets to the university of the cell block. 18 months in county jail for assault. You sat in that gray, windowless room and let the detectives scream until they were hoarse. You said nothing. You watched the clock. You earned your stripes. When you walked out of those gates, you weren't a boy anymore. You were a veterano. A veteran. The clique threw a party that lasted 2 days, but the celebration was just a mask for the new reality. You don't do the grunt work now. You have kids, 14-year-olds with hungry eyes, standing on the corners for you. They call you sir. They kick up a percentage of everything they make. You manage territory now. 3 blocks. It doesn't sound like much until you realize those 3 blocks are a kingdom. You decide who sells, who gets taxed, and who gets punished. You are the law, but the law is exhausting. You spend your nights calculating percentages and passing the rest up to the Polero. You have a used Honda now, It's not a limo, but it's yours. You have an apartment with a girl who knows not to ask why you come home at 4 a.m. smelling of gunpowder and cheap beer. Life feels good, but you're marked. You know you're in the database. You know the feds have a file with your name on it. You look at the younger soldiers and see yourself, and for a fleeting second, you feel a pang of something like regret. But then you touch the tattoo on your chest, the letters that define your soul, and the feeling vanishes. There is no running. MS-13 is a ghost that follows you from Los Angeles to El Salvador. The only way out is a coffin or a cage, and you aren't ready for either. The transition from a soldier to a leader isn't marked by a ceremony. It's marked by the slow, freezing realization that you are no longer just a target for the police. You are a target for everyone. The air around you changes. It's no longer about the adrenaline of the hunt. It's about the crushing weight of the shadows. Level 5, the Polero. You are 24. In the world of the Mara, 24 is middle-aged. Most of the boys you ran with at 14 are now names etched into local murals or numbers in a state database. You've survived. You've been shot twice. Once in the shoulder, a hot, searing burn that still aches when it rains, and once in the thigh. You've been arrested 6 times. You've spent more birthdays behind bars than with your family. But you never broke. Because you held your tongue, the clique rewards you. You are promoted to Polero, the speaker. You are the voice of your local clique. You command 30, maybe 40 soldiers. You don't pick up packages anymore. You manage the flow of an entire neighborhood. Your life is now a series of meetings in dimly lit back rooms and parked cars. The veteranos come to you with their problems, and their problems are now your headaches. Barrio 18 hit a dealer on 5th. The feds raided the stash house on Maple. You make the calls. You decide who lives and who is green-lit. When you give an order for a hit, you don't feel the rush of the street anymore. You feel a cold, professional necessity. It's business. You're pulling in $5,000 to $10,000 a week. You have the gold, the respect, and the power. But you also have a permanent knot in your stomach. You don't sleep well. Every sound outside your apartment, a car door slamming, a dog barking, makes your hand fly to the 9mm under your pillow. You trust no one. Not your soldiers, who look at your seat with hungry eyes. Not your girlfriend, because you know the FB. I loves to find a woman with a weak heart and a love for her children to flip against a man like you. You are a king, but your throne is built on a landmine. Level 6, the Ranflero. By 30, you are ancient. You have reached the level of Ranflero, the regional leader. You are no longer a neighborhood figure. You are a ghost in the machine. You oversee operations across entire cities. You are a CEO of a shadow corporation. You don't talk business on phones. You know the feds have ears in the sky. You communicate in codes, in whispers, through messengers who don't know the full story. You negotiate with Mexican cartels for shipments of cocaine and heroin. You manage the supply chain like a logistics expert. You set the street prices. You control the distribution, and you handle the laundry. Millions of dollars flow through your hands. You open a car wash, a small construction firm, a nightclub. The dirty cash goes in, and clean, taxable money comes out. To your neighbors in the nice suburb you've moved into, you're just a successful Salvadorian businessman who works late. They don't see the tattoos under your expensive silk shirts. But the pressure is tectonic. You are caught between the FBI's RICO investigations and the internal politics of the Mara. MS-13 isn't a monolith. It's a fractured family of cliques that sometimes love each other and sometimes want to tear each other's throats out. You have to be a diplomat, a general, and a judge. You are connected to the big puppets, the leaders in prison. When a coded letter arrives from a maximum security cell in El Salvador, you move. You are powerful, yes, but you realize you are just a high-level servant to a cause that doesn't care if you live or die tomorrow. Level 7. The shot caller. The day finally comes. It's not a shootout, it's a quiet knock at 5 a.m. The feds have their RICO case. They have years of wiretaps, flipped witnesses, and paper trails. You're looking at 30 years to life. No parole. You're going to die in a cage. But then you enter the federal system, and you realize the truth. Prison is where MS-13 truly breathes. On the streets, you are hiding. In here, you are a god. Within a week, you've connected with the brothers. You are a shot caller. You run the cell block. You decide who gets to eat in peace and who gets a sharpened toothbrush in the showers. You run the prison economy. Using corrupt guards and drones, you bring in cell phones and drugs. You tax every transaction. You are in a cage, but your voice still carries over the walls. Your wife visits once a month, looking older and more tired. She brings news of the streets, and she takes your orders back out. You order a hit on a snitch from 1,000 miles away with a single sentence, whispered through a glass partition. You have authority, but as you look at the gray walls, you realize you've traded the sun for a title. Level 8, the international leader. There is a level above you, the legends, the founders. These are the men in Zacatraz, the maximum security pits of El Salvador. These men are mythology. They created this world in the 80s as refugees in LA, and when they were deported, they took the virus with them and turned it into an empire. They are ghosts. They don't have Instagram. They don't have faces the public knows. But their word is absolute. An order whispered in a Salvadorian prison cell travels across borders, through mountains, and into the streets of New York or Virginia. Thousands of soldiers, boys just like you were, obey without question. You will never be them. They are the religion. You are just a priest in a blood-stained robe. They have built something that will outlive you, and that is their only victory. Level 9. The end. You are 35. You've been in the Mara for 21 years. Your body is a map of trauma. 4 bullet holes, countless scars, and tattoos that have blurred into a dark, illegible mess. You've made hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's all gone. Spent on lawyers, hidden in accounts you can no longer reach, or seized by the government. You are out on a technicality, or maybe you're just on the run. You sit in your car outside your mother's house. She's an old woman now, her back bent from decades of scrubbing floors. She doesn't ask about the money or the shoes anymore. She just cries. She begs you to leave. It's not too late, she sobs into her apron. But you know better. You look at your hands. They've broken glass. They've held product. They've taken lives. There is no retirement plan. There is no 401k for a Renflero. You are MS-13 until the dirt hits the coffin. Blood in, blood out. You start the car. You drive back to the old neighborhood, to the exact corner where you stood 21 years ago as a battle. The sun is setting, casting long, bloody shadows across the asphalt. And there he is, a new kid, 14 years old. His sneakers are frayed. His eyes are wide, hungry, and terrified. He's watching the older guys in their blue and white flannels, seeing the respect, the money, the gravity. He looks at your car, seeing the ghost of a man he wants to become. You want to roll down the window. You want to scream at him to run, to go to school, to listen to his mother, to be invisible. But you don't. You can't. You just stare at him through the glass. You see yourself. You see the beginning of the cycle. And you realize that the Mara doesn't just take your life. It takes your soul and feeds it to the next generation. You pull away into the dark, and the kid turns back to the corner, waiting for his first package. The cycle continues,